So apparently Genshin Impact Twitter just released every single information about the 2.4 patch, so it's time to discuss it, react Andy or something like that. And like the usual, we'll start from the top to the bottom. Since there's a lot of information to cover. Starting off with the login reward, we're getting a login reward for Chinese New Year and we're getting a lot of Intervine Fate. Don't really care. I mean, I do care, but doesn't involve your crafting. But we will be getting a free 4-star selection just like last time, featuring this 8 character. I'll be probably making a separate video on this about which character you should pick and which constellation is the better one to pick for meta purposes. I don't want to make it right now because Yunjin will be available for selection soon, and we don't really know what Yunjin does, how Yunjin perform yet, so I'm currently waiting on evaluation for Yunjin before I make that video. Although the short answer is pick Beidou and then pick Xingqiu and then pick Xiangling. The end. Keep going, scrolling down, we have whatever this is, doesn't consider for your crafting, move on. Okay, now this is what people more probably came here for, and that is the Shenhe banner. In the Shenhe banner, we'll be getting Shenhe as the featured 5-star characters, and then we have Yunjin, Ningguang, and Chongyun. I imagine this is gonna be the same thing for Xiao banner, so it will be Xiao here instead of Shenhe. Honestly, this banner is not that good. None of these characters is that good. We have Shenhe and Chongyun together being the 2 crowd characters, but I don't really think Chongyun is gonna be a good crowd character that work with Shenhe. You pretty much need Ganyu Ayaka, which will be coming in the second half of the patch. But anyway, we've already previously talked about Shenhe on a earlier pre-release analysis video, which you can check out. But otherwise, this banner is honestly like, it's not that good at all. Yujin, unknown potential, we don't really know. Ningguang, a very limiting Geo character that's not really good. And then Chongyun is honestly like viable, but not really meta at the moment. Apparently, they just put this free character on because it spells CNY. So Chongyun is a C, Ningguang is the N, and Yujin is the Y. Wow, Chinese New Year. Very funny, mihoyo, haha. Giving us bad character just to spell a meme. Okay, very cool. This also means it's gonna be the same case for Xiao. Once again, these characters are just not very good, making the overall Xiao banner not very good. I'll be making a Xiao rerun video very soon. Whenever my editor, Mr. Say, get more time. So we'll talk about the pros and cons for Xiao. The short version is, if you like him, you can roll for him. If you don't care, then just skip. Xiao, there's a lot of conspiracy about Xiao being weak at the current moment. To be honest, I don't really think so. I think people are underrating Xiao a little bit, so we'll address that in the other video. But if you don't care, then just don't roll for Xiao. These 4-star really sucks. In fact, if you are debating if you should roll for Ito or Xiao, I'll actually suggest Ito over Xiao at the current moment, especially because Ito have a much better banner. On the Ito banner, you have Goro, which synergizes very well with Ito, but there's also Xiangling on the Ito banner, which is the god free-to-play characters, which you will be able to get Xiangling Constellation on. On this case, however, these characters just sucks. There's not even Sucrose, which you really need for a Xiao or something like that. Ningguang could actually be used for Xiao to pair with double Geo. If you have zhongli but you don't have Albedo, you just do zhongli Ningguang with your Xiao. So Ningguang in that case is usable for Xiao, but it's not the primary concern. Moving on for the weapon banner of the patch, I think it's gonna be this one first. So here's the weapon banner for the first half of the 2.4 patch. We have 2 pole arm. Both of these pole arm are usable on Xiao. We have the new Calamity pole arm, which with the detail is released here. To be honest, this pole arm is not really that good. It's just a really huge stat sticks for Shenhe. You have very high base attack and its substat is attack percent, and then the passive is more attack percent. So it just gives you a bunch of attack percent, and stacking damage attack percent is not really that good. You usually want some kind of crit or other stuff like that. It's usable. I don't really know the math for other pole arm character, like using this weapon on Xiao or using this weapon on Xiangling. If I have the math, by the time this video comes out, you probably see them overlay on the screen. But I don't really think this weapon is that good, especially because you actually cannot really get the passive on the feet or on Xiangling, because you cannot snapshot the double passive here. So moving on for the J-Wing Spear. The J-Wing Spear is alright. It's a crit rate spear, but top of Homer, it just better. Usable on Xiao, usable on Xiangling, usable on like Rosaria. But to be honest, Staff of Homer is just better. Nevertheless, having 2 decent weapon on the weapon banner generally is already better than most weapon banner where they put like one trash with filler weapon and then like one feature weapon. In this case, obviously the feature weapon is Calamity for Shenhe, and then you have the other weapon being J-Wing for Xiao. I think if you care for Shenhe and you care for the signature weapon, then the weapon banner is pretty decent, because on the off chance you get a J-Wing, at least it's still a really good weapon. Just again, not as good as Star of Homeland, but it's still really good, pretty high up there. The 4-star wise, Faf Bow, always good. Faf Grace Sword, not really used. The Faf Bow is used for a lot of the bow support like Goro or Diona, probably the best 4-star between all of these. Whipsmith's also really good for Catalyst DPS, but there's no good Catalyst DPS at the moment. But if there is a good Catalyst DPS, then Whipsmith's probably is one of the best Catalysts to use, especially at high refinement, beating out even most of the 5 stars. Levic Spear, pretty much outclassed by every other spear. This weapon is not really used at the current moment. Usable if you have it at high refinement and you have nothing else to use, but likewise, Flute. None of the on-field DPS really care about Flute as a sword. I guess you could use it on like physical Gene or something, but that's pretty much it. Overall, this weapon banner, the 4-star is not actually that amazing. You have Fafbo and Whipsmith that are pretty good, and that's pretty much it. But the 5-star is not too bad, especially if you care for one of these polearm. But aside from the first half of the 2.4 patch, we also have the second half of the banner. And let's start with the Ganyu banner. Oh god, this is one of the most stacked banner in existence, I think. Ganyu, just like Xiao, another rerun character, we will be making a rerun Chiji pull video on Ganyu later down the line. The short version is, yeah, just pull Ganyu, especially if you don't have Ayaka. If you don't have Ayaka, you really should pull for Ganyu. If you have Ayaka, then it's less required. You can still pull for Ganyu, but I'll talk about more in the rerun video. But these 4-star characters, it's so insane. You have Xingqiu's the second best character in the game, with the number 1 being Bennett, and you have Beidou, which is really good. Nowadays, if you guys remember a long time ago, people like to talk about Liu Trio, which is Ganyu, Hu Tao, Xiao. That's the old Liu Trio. Nowadays, the Liu Trio is Xingqiu's, Beidou, and Zhongli. And in this banner, you have 3 Liu Trio. You have the old Liu Trio, Ganyu, and you have 2 of the 3 new Liu Trio, which is Xingqiu's and Beidou. So together, you have 3 Liu Trio. Really good banner. If you're a new player, this is like a must-pull banner. These character constellations are just so good, especially with C6 Xingqiu's, C2 Beidou, and then Ganyu is just really good DPS for a new player as well. Assuming you can play Ganyu. Yanfei is not too bad. It's not really used at the moment. Yanfei constellation are not bad. C4 Yanfei, you can play her as a tank support for Hu Tao, but that's pretty much it. But if you're a new player, what you could do, I guess, is play Yanfei main DPS with a Xingqiu and then with a Ganyu on the other side. That's something you can do. But I don't see why you do that when you can just play Xiangling. So yeah, Yanfei is not really used at all. But these 2 characters are like top tier characters, and Ganyu is a really high value characters. Just make this banner really good. Same thing for the Zhongli banner. The 4 stars, again, same thing as what I mentioned. But Zhongli, once again, another rerun character, which we will make a rerun should you pull video on. And to be honest, currently the more common theory crafting pull advice on Zhongli is that he's not worth it. It's actually getting more and more common for a theory crafter, even in China, to say, yeah, Zhongli is not worth it. I see a lot of Chinese theory crafter and discussions say like, it's not recommended to pull Zhongli anymore. We'll talk about it more when the time comes, especially on the rerun video, so stay tuned and stay subscribed for that. Moving on to the final thing is weapon banner for the second half of the 2.4 patch. We have Amos Bow and Vortex Vanquisher, as you would expect, as Ganyu and Zhongli weapon. To be honest, this weapon banner is pretty scam. Both of these weapons are not that good. I think a lot of people have this idea Amos Bow is really good for Ganyu. In my personal opinion, it's kind of overrated. Starting with the Vortex Vanquisher, obviously this weapon is the most garbage weapon, one of the most garbage weapons in the game. Nobody uses this ever in existence. This weapon might as well be equivalent to like 5 crystal or something. It's like 3 EXP, I guess. Amos Bow is not bad, one of the better weapon. If you're ever planning on playing something like solo Ganyu for a challenge or something, Amos Bow is really good. The reason why it's not that valuable, because to be honest, it's not that much better than Skyward Heart, which you can just get off an off banner pool or in the current Ito weapon banner pool. There has been some new map that suggests a well-built Ganyu with a Skyward Heart have equivalent damage to Amos Bow. I'm not too confident on the map at the moment, so I don't want to say it for sure. But in the past, Scour Harp is honestly not that far behind on Amos. But Scour Harp is just a much better universal weapon. It has overall more value because pretty much a lot of the bow character can use it like xiao or Fisho. On the other hand, Amos bow is only really used for ganyu. Charge attack ganyu nonetheless, because for Morgana, Scour Harp could actually outvalue Amos. In my opinion, again, Amos bow is not really worth it when you can just off banner a Scour Harp and use it on your ganyu. So I don't really think this weapon banner is worth it at all because the two weapon just not that valuable, especially this one. Verdict Vanquisher. 4-star why Lithic Blade, just like Lithic Polearm, useless, not used at all. Faf Codex, not too bad. It's kind of mediocre. Nobody really use it unless you really have to in like Mona on the Morgana, but usually you prefer to run TTDS if you can. I don't really think there's a Callus user that really care about ER and would rather have Faf Codex instead of TTDS. So, but if you ever need it, it's not too bad. Sakbo is really good for support. Again, like Diona or Goro, if you don't have like a high refinement Sack can do the job just well as fine. Faf sword is also really good. I think a lot of the sword support can appreciate a Faf sword when you do need it. For example, putting a Faf sword on your Bennett to generate extra energy is a really good idea if you need energy. Putting a Faf sword on Jean when you're pairing him or pairing her with Xiao. Faf sword have a lot of use, high refinement Faf sword especially, so probably the best weapon here is the Faf sword. Dragon Bane, a pretty good weapon also used on a lot of the polearm DPS / sub DPS. For example, reverse melt Rosaria used on Hu Tao, especially with high refinement and especially with Shanli as well. So this polearm is pretty good, especially at high refinement. But the 5-star just make it not worth. So I wouldn't really pull on this weapon banner. I don't think the 4-star are like exceptional that you need to pull for it anyway. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the banner. And I think that's pretty much it, right? I think that's pretty much it. I don't know how many Xiaoling mentioned I got in this video, but I think it's more than 5, so that's pretty good.